Hello and welcome back to City Skylines 2, where we are developing the sort of realistic fictional Easthaven County located somewhere off the coast of southeastern Massachusetts. In the most recent episode, we kind of paused our development of the main city of Chowder Bay, moved across this stretch of water here and established an entirely new city, complete with a historic, cozy old downtown, some nice row house districts, an initial port layout for some industrial job support as well, even a little custom park. In today's episode, we are going to continue the development of this city, adding a few custom builds and some other exciting stuff. One of the main things we'll tackle is implementing a waterfront here, and I'm thinking we're going to go for a pretty big marina, but maybe add in a bit of commercial and industry as well. We don't really have a marina yet here in Easthaven County, and given the very new logo created by one of my wonderful patrons, Jordan, shout out to you, I think it goes without saying that we're gonna need a lot more stuff to support boating activities here in the region. I guess that would make sense given the amount of islands and water here, and the fact that Massachusetts is in general a pretty rich state by US standards. So we'll have a lot of middle and high income people living here that would keep boats. And right before we begin, if you enjoy my content, consider liking this video. It's a small thing, but it makes a massive difference. And consider enabling notifications if you don't want to miss out on future votes or new content. Thanks in advance. Let's start out by creating the marina, which is probably gonna be the biggest project. I'm gonna grab our level terrain tool, move in here and right click somewhere alongside this level here with our contour lines. And then when creating a marina like this, it's not like I've created a bunch, but I prefer to make the whole thing land. It's gonna make it a little easier to work with. And then we're gonna go in and create a very basic road layout with our alley. I'm gonna leave a bit of space from the main street here and then onto this smaller alley here. We'll go off at an angle of maybe, let's see, actually I'll make this road right along at around 101 degrees. And then I'm going to kind of frame in the marina with a breakwater or like a seawall basically. Something like this. And then I think we're also gonna extend the road out here. Just make a bit of room for just a bit of industry to kind of mix up the area and have a few different pockets of development. With this in place, we're gonna lay down the pathways or pavement paths. That's the best way I can mimic a marina. And what I'm gonna do is disable snapping and moving as close to this alley as possible, because we're gonna make one side of these pavement paths a key wall. And when we start terraforming to make it a proper key, it's gonna get really funky. So I'm hoping that by having it very, very close to the alleyway here, the road, which is of course much wider, and then we can avoid having that issue. What I'm saying is that I'm gonna turn this into a key, and then I'm gonna terraform real close here. And if you don't have a road on the other side, then you're gonna have some texture clipping and some terraforming issues because the pavement path is just so narrow. So this is our outline. Oh wait, probably need a little segment over here as well. I think we can do with something like this. And let's see if we can make this connection as well. And then for the actual boat piers, I have to be thoughtful about the distance between the small piers as well. Let's see, we've got 43 meters here. We probably need to go for like 51. Something like this is probably sufficient. Let's see if we can just 52 even. Just gonna try this as a start. Gonna go 52 again. Got a little snapping issue here. 52, there we go. Gonna make these a little shorter because I want to have a few over here as well, just to create a bit more of an interesting design, really. And in this case, I'm probably gonna refrain from creating an additional one. And instead, we're gonna branch off from this off angle here. So let's just get this connected up to the main one. And then we're on for the like actual boat piers. So we're just gonna extend. And I think over here we are actually going to do something like this, and then just go down, and then for each of these we'll also have a corresponding pier over here. It's gonna look a little odd as I map this out, but hopefully it all makes sense when it's finished. So the distance here is 16 meters, it seems. No, wait, it's less. It's like 12 meters actually, so that's not a whole lot. But I don't mind the size difference in these. I think it's quite realistic actually to have some that are a little wider than others. To have room for different types of boats, right? Different sizes basically. Alright, then it's time for the deletion of a lot of these, and then hopefully it's gonna make a little more sense. There you go. And then of course I'll need to delete these as well, and I should be able to just create a few of these. And I think that's actually that's good enough for a start. We're gonna branch out here to create a few more, and hopefully, as I mentioned, make them a little more interesting, or at least achieve a more interesting look by using these. And we're gonna go for 52 again, because then we can easily branch out here and delete that segment. Okay, so it's definitely not perfect, but I think it's a pretty good start. There should be room for boats to enter in and out, and yeah, unfortunately we don't have small boat props in the game just yet to actually fill this up with, which is a bit of a shame, but I think this will do for now. And let's get the water all fixed up and get that in here. So I'm going to make all these segments elevated, of course, because we'll flood this whole area in just a bit with seawater. And then these inner sections here, I'm gonna turn into keys. And then we're gonna do some of the terraforming, and hopefully it works out all right now that I've got this road to back up against. Okay, so I've just done a pretty substantial change off camera. Don't know if you can see it, but I realized that these boat piers here probably need to be at a bit of a lower level so that they're very close to the surface of the water. So I've pretty much remade the entire thing. And as you can see, there's a bit of decline here as you go from the road down to the actual boat piers, and that's probably gonna look a little more realistic, but it was a bit of a painful change, so yeah, I didn't want to bore you guys with it. Let's slowly bring in the water level. So I'm gonna right click somewhere along here. I don't need it to be like super deep, and then we're just gonna try and implement water in a controlled manner so that we avoid potential flooding, because that's always a pain in this game when we have flooding issues. And hopefully my system with these keyed pavement paths and not causing too many issues for the terraforming is gonna be successful now, but we'll see. I'm gonna start bringing in the water, and we can just smoothen some of this out. And of course we need to bring in the water here, and then we're gonna switch to our smaller brush size and fix all the small areas. And I'm generally pretty happy with this result. I guess if we were to make it just a little better, we could upgrade without snapping and then move the pavement path really close to avoid having any of these. As you can see, we've got some small like terraforming glitches in here, as the same here, but we can fix that by enabling Anarchy and then just moving really close so that it basically just overlaps with any terraforming issues. And we've pretty much gotten ourselves a marina by now. There's one more thing I'd like to try just before we move on. So I'm gonna remove the key wall here. Then we're gonna grab, let's see, our slope terrain tool. And we're gonna need some kind of a height up here. And then I am going to try something here. Yeah, that height is really not gonna work, is it? Oh, it is. Do I need to like... I'll right click here and then I'm gonna try something out. And that looks super weird. Why does it do that? Oh, this is better, right? Yeah, somewhat better. Gonna right click over here and just gonna try and create a slope here. And hopefully this makes sense in just a bit. Then we're gonna open our developer tools and I'm gonna search for boulder random. And then I'm gonna try and see how this looks if I create the breakwater using these boulders all alongside the slope we've got here. And then maybe adding in just a bit of vegetation, at least some of these wild bushes, is just what we need to really spruce this up. Doesn't that look cool? I am pretty happy with this result. That really does add a lot of character to our little marina. Let's connect our marina to the actual city and then we'll move on to this small industrial pocket over here. Hopefully I can create something that looks nice and adds a lot of character over there. So I'm just gonna create a simple connection here. We'll connect straight through this street here and just gonna add an additional connection over here as well. And then we might expand the road network ever so slightly. Get a few more housing units in this pocket as well. And then I'm thinking of some commercial stuff here, you know, fish restaurants, stuff like that. But if we move over here first, I'll create an additional road for the industry. Just make it straight here. We're gonna enable contour lines and then I'm gonna curve it alongside a road here and make a very simple connection here, I think. Because I'm pretty sure that if I start connecting to this road, then I'm gonna mess up the zoning on the other side of it, and I don't want that. And I also think this looks kind of interesting, actually. So I'm gonna pause the game. And then I think I'm actually gonna use the PloppableRICO mod. I haven't used that yet, but I'm not gonna use the actual interface here with the signature buildings because as you guys can probably see, there are no screenshots for all the buildings. So what we can do instead is open up the developer mode, and then if I just search for like industry warehouse, which is the type of buildings I want here, I don't want any chimneys. Then you'll notice that we've got a ploppable version of every asset in the game as well. And this is basically the RICO version, which means that if I grab this big warehouse, for instance, then I can place it wherever I want. It doesn't need to have the correct type of zoning underneath, which is great. That's really what provides the flexibility I want. So yeah, just gonna align it to the corner here, add a bit of, you know, just gonna withdraw it a bit from the road and add it, and it automatically adds the zoning and makes sure that the building basically works as a signature building, because this is the RICO mod. So let's see, we've probably got room for a 3x4 or something here, which I couldn't find. But we've got a smaller building here, which is probably a good fit. And the cool thing about the RICO buildings, of course, is also that you can stitch them together, just like in City Skylines 1. So these two buildings here, we can essentially connect them together. So I'm just gonna try that. I don't know how this first attempt is gonna look, but you know, this is all very fresh and new. But I mean, it passes. Another warehouse building here would probably be a good fit. We'll go for something a little bigger in size. I think this one is a good fit. And we'll once again just move it just a bit back from the road and add it as such. We need to add a bit of parking as well, and I think this would be a good time to implement some of the custom parking lots we can implement. So if we grab our two-way perpendicular parking road, then we are going to disable snapping and just go for a design something like this, and then all the way over to this road here. And where it's actually placed isn't as important, because we can always just, let's see, we can enable upgrade without snapping, and then we can, you see, we can move it very close to the surfaces of this building. And we can do the same here. And it's automatically connected up to Pacific Lane and Hamilton Lane. So if we jump into our surface tool here, we should, of course, very easily be able to add just the surfaces we need and make it look like a proper custom parking lot. Isn't this awesome? It is. Going to expand the surfaces here as well, just so we've got that in place. And then I'm going to add some no, I'm not gonna add some grass surfaces, but I am gonna add some bushes and stuff in between here. But first I'm just gonna add a bit of a curve here. And then, yeah, like I said, for detailing, we're gonna go with some of these wild bushes. I don't want to paint like pavement or concrete surface everywhere just because it's industrial. I want to have these small pockets of greenery in between as well, which might be a little less realistic, but it's certainly gonna look a little more pretty. And you know, maybe the city has some sort of policy for developers that even though you're building industrial sites, then you need to be a bit careful about just how much concrete you put down. Yeah, that may be a bit naive, but I'm just dreaming out loud here, I guess. And we'll add a few oaks, of course, of different shapes and sizes. And that's pretty nice. I'm very happy with how this turned out. We're gonna move across over here, and this is where we'll want our commercial stuff. So I'm gonna go for commercial low. Then we're gonna go for ploppable, and let's see, I don't want the units to be too wide, but I would like them to be high level. And then we're gonna see if we can find something. If they include parking, then that's of course pretty nice right from the get-go. And these are pretty much all variations of the same one when they're the same level. So we're gonna switch it up ever so slightly. Yeah, they all look the same. Let's grab the European one and see if we can get a change. It seems we can. So that's at least gonna mix it up a bit. Maybe we'll even add a motel, if there's one that actually fits think this one is fine. It could even go for like a simple restaurant of sorts. So maybe if we can add it at a bit of an angle out here, like this, and then potentially, let's see if we can, if we add a small roundabout here, we close down this menu, we jump into surfaces, and we expand upon the existing surfaces so it looks a little better, a little more well integrated. And then I think for the rest, we should probably be fine with just doing some zoning and getting in a few more spots. Or actually, parking lot here might actually just be a little cooler. Custom one even. There we go. And we'll of course have to do the tough labor of adding the surface to it as well. And then we might as well just make sure that this is all a little more seamlessly connected so that it really looks like one joined asset. On closer inspection, wouldn't we be seeing some like luxury condos or something around this place? I'm pretty sure we would. So I'm just gonna move this around and then let's see if we can find some stuff. Oh, big surprise, I've already gotten it selected. Yeah, I guess I'm not fooling anyone. I found these nice luxury condos here. Let's disable snapping so that we can have them be at a bit of an angle maybe. Wouldn't that be cool? So we'll bring this one back as far as we can, and then the neighboring one can be a little closer to the actual lane. There we go. That looks pretty sweet. We'll go into surfaces and let's see. We'll expand this so that it actually reaches. And then I'm guessing we might as well just add a path moving all the way over here. Something like this. Looks pretty good. And we might as well just extend it in here as well. And then I'm thinking we've got, maybe we've even got manicured grass covering up much of the space between these buildings. Just as we've got for the hotel or restaurant or whatever we choose to call it. Sweet. Now we just need to move in with some bushes and some of our beautiful oaks. Always my preferred choice of trees. That looks pretty good. All right, let's move on to the open space we've got here. And I'm thinking we're gonna separate it into three things. We're gonna have a bit more surface parking. This is the US after all. And I think I'm gonna try and make like a small plaza with maybe like a food court or something. And then we probably need a few like warehouse buildings or something that looks like it's used by the marina, maybe for, you know, storing components for the small boats or renovating boats or stuff like that. But I think first thing I'm just gonna go ahead and do is of course remove the trees we've got here. And ever since I've got the TreeController mod with instant grown trees, it's much less of a sin to remove trees, I guess. And then I think we're gonna add a bit of parking, and we'll do our custom parking because it just it looks much better. And the alignment isn't as important because we can of course just upgrade and change that accordingly. So I think for now I just need to kind of designate the size of our parking, and I think this is probably fine. Then we're gonna make sure that it's connected well. something like this. And then of course, once again, some very simple surface painter work. And this end over here in particular is very easy. And then I'm just gonna try and add in an extra node here to ensure I can get a bit of a bend here. And we're just gonna leave this for now. Can always detail it a bit more with some lights and whatnot. But this is just to get like an idea of the placement of this parking lot. The simple plaza is gonna be located here, which is kind of at the very center of the marina and the connection to the downtown area of the city. And I think for starters, I'm just gonna mark out like a very, very simple pattern with the surface painting tool. We've got a bit of a slope here, which I want to avoid. So I'm just gonna do something like this. And then we can add on to the complexity a bit to create the... Whoa, yeah, okay. Give me just a second. And we're back. It's magic. I think something like this is fine, just to create a bit of an interesting look. Then perhaps a fountain, just a small one, like in the very center. I think this one is probably the most fitting one. And then we'll need our food trucks, of course, or carts rather. Oh, we've got a bit of everything. We've got some stalls. And we've got some carts, so let's just get all of this added in. And I think that's gonna be fine. And we'll need tables, of course. And we can get these sets going. And we'll opt for a few different variations. Something like this. And I think we're gonna add a bit of extra complexity to this, make it a little more interesting, because we'll have some... This is gonna be a well-kept park. I think it is, so we'll have manicured grass here. And actually, it might be a good idea to expand this path a bit. There you go, that looks pretty good, and we'll do the very same over here so that it crosses all the way over here where we'll have our industrial buildings, our warehouses. We can push them back a bit so that we have still got the visibility of this path here. And I think this looks pretty good. I guess the final step is just to add a bit of detailing, of course, to this park, and we'll probably add in a few more paths actually. Gonna cut into the park here. Yeah, so I messed up and had to redo the whole thing. Anyways, this is how it's looking for now. Let's do a little, let's see, do we have some park lights? Light pole park, yes. So we can do a bit of simple detailing of the parking lot here, as well as the park. And I'm just eyeballing this. Let's see, can we get a North American arrow forward? That would appear to be the case. Just in case you're wondering which direction to take. And we might as well add to this parking lot as well, of course. Now we're already at it. Just a quick check for, let's see, do we have some electric parking lot decals? We do actually. Very nice, but do we also have something to really indicate that you can actually charge your electric vehicle? I don't know. We'll just add these because we are being progressive. So we'll reserve a few parking lots for electric cars, electric vehicles. We're gonna add some invisible pathways, and then we're gonna jump into adding trees. Lots and lots of trees. We're gonna disable snapping here, so we've got lots of freedom. But fortunately, the path system I've built here, the custom path system, is relatively simple. So it isn't really an issue to just add in a few paths here. Gonna add in a double path here, and the pretty cool thing is that if you place trees in the middle of a path, the agents will actually try to avoid the trees, which is pretty cool. So yeah, just a little tip, I guess. And we'll just add in a few small paths in here. I don't know just how much pedestrian activity we'll be seeing. But nonetheless, it's gonna be interesting to have people actually walk and use this. Anyways, up next is of course adding in a bit of detailing, and then we'll have a few well-placed clusters of trees and bushes. And we're gonna add in the flowers as well. Gonna go for the hickory because the oak is pretty abundant throughout all of Easthaven County, while the hickory is something I use a little more sparingly. So it seems like I've pretty much used it mostly in places where it's obvious that it's actually been planted and not just grown naturally. So we're gonna go for the same here, and that looks pretty good. We've got a park. Actually, I'm gonna change a few of these to oaks, I think. Just some smaller oaks. Gonna disable the largest version and just add an oak or two. I'm an oak addict, so yeah, it was bound to happen, I guess. There you go. Let's move on to some of the facilities for the marina, and to ensure maximum control, I am of course going to be placing down the buildings manually, and we're gonna use the ploppable versions from the RICO mod so that we can place them exactly where we want, and they won't be despawning due to like zoning issues or stuff like that. And I'm thinking we can't go deeper than about 3 because we have to push back a bit due to the tiling we added out front here. So I just need to find a couple of buildings I can use, and yeah, most of them pretty much look the same. This one is a little different, so I guess we'll start with this one. Disable snapping, and then just flip it. Make sure it's aligned as well as possible, and then we can move it back a bit. We can actually move it quite a bit back, but I think something like this is probably gonna be sufficient. And then it seems that the level 1 building is the one that has the greatest variance. Oh, actually this one is fine as well. And then the cool thing, of course, is that we can move them very, very close together. We can pretty much stitch the buildings together even. Like this. And then I don't know if we've got like a shed or something that is actually big enough to add some extra detailing. No, that doesn't seem to be the case. Cool. We'll close down our menu again and take a little look. And it looks fantastic, if I may say so myself at least. So that's pretty nice. We can make this whole thing feel a little more custom by doing some adjustments here and expanding on some of the surfaces that spawn from these warehouses. That is going to make the whole thing look a little more, I guess, purpose-built for the area is the word or sentence I am desperately trying to convey, with varying degrees of success. And I'll see if I can do something clever here as well. Can we actually expand this so that it overlaps? No, not quite. Not unless we change this up. But I think this is actually fine. That is very cool. We'll go for some of my ferret oaks. Big surprise. Back here. Mix in a few other trees as well that we see a lot of here in Easthaven County. And then we'll go for some bushes as well. Just to make the back of this stretchable thing a little overgrown, really. Awesome. We'll grab our surface painter tool and I'm going to create some sort of custom. Yeah, I don't really know what to call it actually, so I think I'll just create it and then we'll see. Because I think we've got some trailer. Something like this. I'll need something, maybe some props. That's pretty cool. These crates, it's a good start. But there is a trailer that looks fit for a boat. Oh, yeah, this would be quite a substantial boat, but I guess we can start with that. Let's see if we've got some car trailers that are a little less substantial. Doesn't seem to be the case. Oh, it's... Oh, okay. So there's different versions of these. Fine. Let's see if we've got some vans we can add. And we'll just be... not fencing this in, but adding some bushes around this... enable some Anarchy, and we'll just round this in. I don't know what round this in actually means, so yeah. Add in a few trees and a few more bushes. Very cool. Do we have a decal with loading or something? Cargo loading location. No. Doesn't seem to be the case, but I'll just try and find some sort of decal. I guess this guy is just parking illegally. And then for a finishing touch, I'm going to try and add a boat ramp. And might as well try and add it over here. It's going to be a little exciting because I've never tried doing a boat ramp. So if we go out a bit here and we use our slope terrain tool and we try and create a gentle slope from all the way over here. Something like this. And then we grab our alley. Yeah, that's not gonna work, is it? We're gonna try that again. Come on, road. I need you to go down by like a lot. Something like this, yes. And then we'll try and add it as a key on either side. And it looks super weird. So, oh, this is gonna be so tricky. Okay, we're getting somewhere. Getting some experience, if anything. We've got some issues here. The terraforming might need to turn this, yeah, into a key as well. And then if we remove the text here, or sorry, we replace it with just a dot, how is that going to look? That's not too bad, is it? I mean, given just how finicky this is to work with, then that's probably about as good as it's gonna get. I guess as a little cleanup, we could remove these crosswalks. They look a little out of place. That looks safe, doesn't it? Especially with the light here. Oh boy. I think this result, while certainly not perfect, will have to do for now. And I think as we zoom out a bit, it actually does sort of look like a boat ramp, which is the entire purpose. And it is such a pleasure seeing these new areas being put to good use. The parking is starting to fill up. Companies are moving into our newly placed industrial sites. And do we actually have some pedestrian traffic in here at our new plaza? We do. Fantastic. So we've been doing some detailing now, which you guys even requested in the most recent episode, and it's been a lot of fun. Let's move on to looking a bit at the bigger picture and trying to satisfy some of the residential demand we've got over here. So I'm going to continue mapping out this lane so that we can get a few housing units in as well. Let's see, I'll need a road to connect down here. Let's just go straight, and then if we connect from here, we should make a nice connection here, and that should leave us a lot of room for some row housing. So I'm thinking that we've already got a naturally grown, so to speak, row housing district over here near the highway and the bridge. Which is completely backed up. Sweet. So over here, I'm gonna go for much the same, but what I'm going to do is I am going to be putting down the zoning, and then I'm going to override it or overrule it, rather, with some buildings that I pretty much just cherry pick with the PloppableRICO mod. So that's going to be an approach I'll be using. So first up, I'm just going to zone this out because we should see quite a bit of development. I think this is a perfect spot for a mixed use. Getting some more row house zoning in. Something like this. This should already spawn quite a bit, but then I'm gonna hit play and we'll jump into our developer mode here and we'll say row. Let's see how it's called. It's medium row 01. And then we're going to go for ploppable, just in case we mess up some of the zoning. And then we're going to go for some higher level buildings due to the location. So level 5, for instance, from the North American looks absolutely sweet. So we'll get one of these placed here, and of course this is like a corner lot that would be so, it would really fit with like a mixed use here. So I think we're gonna refrain from using that one, and then I'm gonna start plopping down these. Just a few of them at least. So that we've got a bit of a higher level of buildings right out the gates here. And we can even mix in one of these EU because they look so beautiful. There you go. And as I said, we'll be looking for a mixed use here on this corner, probably the corner up here. So I've searched for mixed lift, and we'll go 2x4 ploppable. And want something that looks great, but isn't actually too big of a building. So we might just have to go with... maybe this will actually do, given the theme and location of this city. Just try and place that. And then over here, we're gonna go for right. Gonna go for ploppable and see what we can actually find. I think we're gonna go for a simple one such as this. There you go. And this one is growing naturally up here, so that's just fine. And it seems we've kind of emptied our row house demand. So what I am going to do is just pause, delete these and dezone it, because I would rather finish this cluster of row houses then, if we're starting to lose the demand. Because then that's kind of a sign for me that we're gonna have to continue transitioning into a low density single family housing in this area, just as we've actually done. So we'll have like a natural boundary for downtown around here, which I've already marked. And I guess I'm gonna have to create a Marina district as well by now. which is going to include, it's going to be quite a big area actually, as it's going to include all these units that are in the vicinity of the marina. So I think we'll try and kind of cut off here. And then we'll have a district here, an entirely different district. Alright, so a quick little recap. Added in this very small, simple park, just to add a bit of character, and I think it looks alright from afar. Then did some detailing of the new row house district here, placed down a few unique, or not unique, but I manually plopped down a few mixed use developments as well, to just kind of break up the monotony of the area a bit, and added the special row housing. I love the fact that I can create tree-lined streets without having to actually remove any parking. So I've done that here with the Anarchy mod. Then moved over here and just added a tiny small suburban area here with some low-density single-family housing. And I think that's pretty much a wrap for what we'll be developing in this episode. So with that said, we still need to name this city, and I've asked for suggestions in the previous episode, and I've read a ton of them, and I'm gathering them so that I can kind of choose the best one, or the one I like the most. But if you've got a suggestion and you haven't written a comment on a previous episode yet, it's fine if you write it on this one. I'll make sure to read those as well, and then I think for the next episode we're probably gonna settle on a name for the city here. But with all that said and done, we did a lot of nitty-gritty detailing, manually placing stuff, manually creating parking lots and all that stuff in this episode. So I hope those of you that enjoyed the detailing process really enjoyed it, but I also think that we've actually got quite a bit done from a scale perspective as well. So I'm gonna do my best to shoot some nice cinematics now. Thank you guys so much for the support and all the nice feedback. Thank you for watching, and of course I hope to see you all in the next one. Goodbye.